science and faith are incompatible. No, they're not. Science proves faith is irrational. No, it doesn't, is not even capable of doing so. Yet, why are these statements still so common? Hi, Parish. Speaking of Parish on the go, I'm here in Puerto Rico, but I'm glad that we can connect to speak about this topic. I became aware of the apparent tension between science and faith when I was in college studying biology, and eventually in the field of scientific research, which is what I pursued in graduate school. However, it's not just among academic circles, whether it's high school or college, but online, social media, in podcasts, you still run into statements along the lines of science and faith are incompatible, or the Catholic Church is against science, or a person of science cannot believe in God. Why are these statements pointing to an apparent incompatibility between science and faith so prevalent when there are plenty of examples of clergy, laymen, laywomen who dedicated their time, their resources, their talents to make great discoveries in many fields of science? Well, at the root of all the statements, there is a self-defeating ideology that often escapes the person that professes such ideology. And the ideology is this one, that science alone can reveal truth. In other words, the ideology states that science is the only possible way to discover truth. Now, by science, this ideology, it's speaking about the scientific method, which is that process by which you try to establish factual knowledge through empirical observations, meaning that you measure things, you count things, and then you run experiments. Now, the application of the scientific method has indeed allowed us humans to not only discover wonders in our world, but to improve our lives in all the fields of empirical science, including medicine and engineering. However, when you hear the statement that science alone can reveal truth, what you are hearing is an ideological view that says that only through the scientific method, the empirical observations and the experiments that you carry can reveal to you truth. This ideology cannot sustain itself. Therefore, it is self-defeating. What do I mean? Well, ask yourself, what kind of experiments involving collecting data, running experiments, whether it is in the laboratory or in the field, has provided proof that only the scientific method allows you to discover truth? What series of experiments has provided enough evidence to support the claim that only through observations and scientific experiments you can discover truth? As you can tell, there is no scientific basis to generate evidence and suggest or proclaim that only the scientific method allows us to arrive at truth. This ideology is known as scientism. It's very dangerous because it shapes the way the person thinks and understands the world, and ironically, it limits the ability of that person to arrive at truth, the whole truth. Do not be afraid to express, to share, and to witness your Catholic faith, and continue to seek ways to grow in communication with Christ in all the areas of your life, including in your work or in your field study. Whether this is the empirical sciences, including biology, chemistry, genetics, physics, and many others, whether it is in the field of philosophy, or especially in theology, the science that allows us to know God, know about Him, to be with Him. Also, I recommend that you learn about the many Catholic men and women who have loved the Lord and have contributed in very significant ways to the field of empirical sciences, which includes, as I mentioned, clergy and many lay men and lay women. Just to name one, there is Maria Gaetana Agnesi, She was an Italian mathematician who also studied philosophy and theology. In 1748, she wrote a textbook on calculus, which was translated into English and French. And in 1750, Pope Benedict XV appointed her professor of mathematics at the University of Bologna. She was the second woman in history to attain the rank of professor at a university. She dedicated the last part of her life to charitable work for the poor with religious sisters. By the way, do you know who was the first woman in history to attain the rank of professor at a university? Laura Bassi, another Catholic. She worked in the field of physics, and at a very young age, she became the chair of the physics department, also at the University of Bologna. Now, in the field of medicine, specifically genetics, for instance, we have Jérôme Lejeune. He's a French scientist, pediatrician who discovered the connection between specific chromosomal abnormalities and physical phenotypes. He was very outspoken in defense of the unborn and was named the first president of the Pontifical Academy for Life. God is truth. God is the whole truth. Every field, science or otherwise, if it's pursuing truth, will lead us to Him, God.